You passed the test. Now brace yourself for the final challenge. You passed the test. And while others might celebrate and sit down, you already know this was just the proving ground. The fire you walked through didn't burn you, it branded you. The storms didn't shake you, they shaped you. Every trial, every tear, every late night wrestle wasn't just about survival. It was preparation, because now comes the real assignment. The final challenge isn't about testing your strength. It's about unlocking your dominion. This is the season where purpose demands performance, where calling demands courage, and where destiny demands dominion. So don't get comfortable. Get ready. You're not finished. You're just getting dangerous. Every test you've conquered was training. Now comes the territory you've been prepared to take. You've made it through tests that would have broken other people. But let's be clear, those tests weren't just obstacles, they were orchestration. They were divinely allowed to shape the warrior, the leader, the kingdom builder inside you. You didn't just survive them, you passed them. That's not just a statement of endurance, it's a declaration of readiness. Because the tests weren't about the test, they were about the territory. They were the setup for the space you were about to step into. Every setback taught you strategy. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every delay taught you patience, and every disappointment sharpened your focus. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. While others saw loss, heaven saw training. While others were counting scars, God was counting qualifications. You didn't lose your mind. You gained mastery. You didn't fall off. You fell forward. And now, you're not just walking into the next level. You're qualified for it. But let me remind you, there's a difference between passing the test and possessing the territory. The test was internal, but the territory is external. The test was about who you are when no one's watching. The territory is about what you carry when everyone is watching. You had to bleed in private so you could build in public. And now that you've passed, you've unlocked a new season, one that isn't for the timid. This territory has enemies, this territory has giants, this territory has resistance, but it also has your name on it. And if you thought the test was hard, understand, this next phase requires strategy, authority, and most of all, identity. You've got to know who you are and whose you are. The test trained your character, the territory demands your confidence. The test refined your endurance. The territory requires execution. You didn't come this far to second. Guess your calling. You've been certified by the struggle. So stop tiptoeing and start taking ground. Too many people pass the test and think the battle is over. No, it's just shifted. Before, the fight was within. Now, the fight is about what's yours. You're stepping into the kind of space that requires spiritual aggression. No more playing small, no more asking for permission. You've got the blueprint, the scars, the testimony, and now it's time to walk like someone who's been through something, because the final challenge isn't about survival, it's about seizing territory. This is about establishing legacy. This is about building what others said was impossible. This is about walking into boardrooms, stages, ministries, markets, and marriages with a level of clarity and confidence that says, I've passed the test, and now I'm here to take over. You didn't go through all that just to maintain. You went through it to multiply. The wilderness taught you obedience. The valley taught you vision. The drought taught you discipline. But now, you're being released into a season of dominion. But dominion doesn't come without demand. You must show up like the version of you the test was meant to unlock. No more shrinking, no more playing safe, no more hanging with people who are comfortable in places you were only meant to pass through. You're stepping into a season where the people around you need to match your mindset, or get out of your way, because you're not negotiating for crumbs anymore. You're claiming your crown. This is the land of milk and honey, yes, but it's also the land of giants. So show up like someone who knows the promise is bigger than the pressure. Now hear me clearly. What you passed prepared you, but what's next will promote you. You didn't get promoted by man, you got promoted by pressure. You didn't get upgraded by applause. You got upgraded in the dark, when nobody saw your tears, when nobody clapped for your sacrifice, when nobody knew you were still showing up despite everything trying to take you out. That's what makes this next season different, because this time you're not stepping in insecure, you're stepping in instructed, you're not confused, you're commissioned. The test was the wilderness, the challenge is the war. And the reason you passed is because the future needs what you carry, your family needs what you carry, your community needs what you carry, your generation is waiting on the version of you that couldn't be unlocked until the test was finished. So yes, you passed, that's worth honoring, that's worth celebrating, but don't camp at the finish line of a test when there's a kingdom to conquer. Your resilience was the rehearsal, your obedience was the offering. Now the reward is waiting, but it won't be handed to you. It must be taken. So stand up, square your shoulders, lift your head. The final challenge is not your punishment, it's your promotion. The territory has been waiting on your arrival. And now that you've passed the test, you're not asking for what's yours, you're walking in to take it. You don't need a new weapon for the final challenge, you need a new mindset. Let's get one thing straight. The greatest enemy in the final challenge is not what's in front of you, it's what's inside of you. It's not the mountain, it's the mindset. You've been looking for a new weapon, a new strategy, a new door to open, but hear me loud and clear. You don't need something new. You need to renew how you think, because how you think determines what you pursue, what you permit, and what you produce. The final challenge isn't going to be won by brute force or external tools. It's going to be won by mental mastery. You've got the skills, you've got the favor, you've got the anointing, but if your mind is still rehearsing old limitations, then your victory will always be delayed by your perspective. It's time to upgrade your mentality to match your mission. You can't walk into destiny thinking like someone still surviving in a desert. You passed the test, but now the challenge is this. Can you think like a ruler after years of living like a runner? Can you adopt a mindset of dominion when you've been trained in delay? This is where everything changes, not because your environment shifts, but because your expectation does. You see, when you shift your mindset, you stop waiting for things to happen and start realizing you were born to make them happen. You stop waiting for someone to choose you and realize you were already chosen. You stop praying for tables and realize you're called to build them, and if you're not careful, you'll sabotage your season not because you weren't equipped, but because you didn't believe you were. The enemy doesn't have to destroy you if he can distract you with doubt. He doesn't have to block your path if he can bind your perception. Because the most dangerous bondage isn't physical, it's mental. It's believing that what happened to you is bigger than what's possible for you. It's walking into new spaces with an old spirit. But here's the truth. The mindset that got you through the test isn't the one that will let you thrive in the challenge. The test required humility and survival. The challenge requires identity and authority. You've got to think like someone who's already won, someone who knows the outcome is not up for debate, someone who speaks the language of kings, not beggars. This is the moment you stop identifying with the old version of yourself. You are not the broken one anymore. You are not the forgotten one. You are not the struggling one just trying to get by. That identity died in the test. It was buried in the breaking. The version of you that's standing here now has been refined by fire. And the fire wasn't sent to destroy. It was sent to forge. It created a sharper mind, a wiser heart, and a focused spirit. But if you still think like a victim, even after passing through the fire, you'll keep forfeiting victories that already have your name on them. Your new assignment is going to demand you speak differently, move differently, believe differently. This is the moment to stop thinking in terms of if it happens, and start declaring when it happens. Stop saying, I hope I make it, and start declaring, I was made for this. You're not asking the world for permission anymore. You're walking in with kingdom confidence. Listen, fear doesn't need to be defeated. It needs to be replaced. You don't destroy fear by wrestling it. You destroy fear by renewing your truth. And the truth is, you've already survived what was supposed to take you out. That means you're dangerous now, not because you're stronger, but because you're clear. You're clear on who you are. You're clear on what you carry. You're clear on the assignment. So, if you want to win the final challenge, stop looking for a new tool and start speaking with new thoughts. Because your life will always rise or fall to the level of your mindset. When you shift your mind, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your results change. The territory you're about to claim can't be built by someone still thinking like a tenant. You've got to think like the owner. You've got to walk like someone who knows the land already belongs to them. This is not the time for hesitation. This is the time for mental alignment. You need a mindset that refuses to negotiate with fear, a mindset that knows delay doesn't mean denial, a mindset that speaks in present tense about future victories, a mindset that no longer needs outside validation to confirm inside vision, because here's what you have to understand. Breakthrough doesn't begin in your bank account, your body, or your business. Breakthrough begins in your brain. It begins with one courageous decision to think like someone who's already arrived. Your faith has to graduate from hoping to knowing, knowing that you're called, knowing that you're capable, knowing that this final challenge was never meant to crush you. It was meant to crown you. And the only thing standing between you and the manifestation of that promise is the conversation happening in your head. So rewrite the narrative, cancel the lies, evict the insecurity, and install a mindset that says, if I've passed the test, then I'm already qualified to conquer the challenge. This is where the shift happens, when you finally realize you were never waiting on a new opportunity, you were waiting on a new outlook. The greatest weapon you have isn't in your hand, it's in your head. So sharpen it, strengthen it, renew it, because the final challenge doesn't require a new miracle. It requires a new mentality, and once your mindset matches your mission, no force in hell can stop you from walking in everything that's already yours. This ain't the season for retreat. This is the season for rulership. You didn't come this far to bow, back down, or blend in. This isn't the season to retreat second, guess, or rehearse your fears. This is the season for rulership, and rulership doesn't ask for permission. It takes dominion. You've been tested, trained, and transformed, and now the call is clear. Rule. Not just show up, not just try, not just survive, rule. That means walking into rooms with authority, stepping into assignments with clarity, and confronting opposition with unshakable identity. Because you're not who you used to be. You're not standing in the shadows anymore. You are standing in the spotlight of divine timing, and the world doesn't need another hesitant voice. The world needs someone who knows how to govern what they've been given. Rulership means stewardship over everything you've survived. It means no longer seeing yourself as someone trying to catch up, but someone called to lead. This season will not be gentle. It's not designed to be easy. But it's tailor-made for people who understand their time has come, not to retreat, not to repeat the past, but to reign in the future. You passed the test, and now you must shift from a survival mindset to a governmental mindset. Survival says, let me make it through the day. Rulership says, let me command this day. Survival reacts to life. Rulership directs life. You are not created to always be catching up, always fixing, always praying for a break. You were created to govern your gifts, your space, your territory with wisdom and boldness. That means making decisions based not on fear, but on purpose. That means understanding that delay is not defeat and warfare is not a sign to flee. It's a sign to advance. When kings go to war, they don't ask if they're worthy. They move like their victory is already decreed. That's how you've got to move in this season. You've got to walk like the outcome has already been decided in your favor. You've got to act like the crown is already fitted for your head, because rulership starts in how you see yourself. If you keep seeing yourself as the underdog, you'll keep living like one, even after you've been crowned. You can't rule if you still retreat every time pressure shows up. Pressure is part of promotion. Warfare is proof of your worth. The enemy doesn't waste attacks on people who aren't a threat. If you've been feeling resistance lately, it's because rulership is in motion, and rulership isn't about control, it's about conviction. It's about showing up with a sense of assignment. It's about knowing I'm not here by accident. I've been positioned here. Whether it's the business, the ministry, the marriage, the calling, you've been planted with purpose. And purpose always demands presence. You can't rule from a place you're not willing to occupy. No more checking out mentally, no more showing up halfway, no more apologizing for taking up space. This is your territory. These are your people. This is your platform. And rulership means claiming it, commanding it, and cultivating it like someone who understands the assignment. Let me make this clear. Rulership doesn't mean everything will go your way. It means you stay the course even when it doesn't. Kings and queens don't quit when the winds change. They anchor deeper. They don't fold when loyalty fails. They tighten their circle. They don't run from adversity. They rise in it. That's what this season is demanding from you. Not emotional instability, not spiritual inconsistency, not hiding behind past hurt. You're not in that season anymore. Rulership requires resolve. It requires you to say, even if the crowd doesn't cheer, I'll still build. Even if the resources look limited, I'll still move. Even if I'm misunderstood, I'll still obey. Because when you're walking in rulership, your actions are based on assignment, not applause. You didn't pass all those tests just to sit at the table quietly. You passed them so that when you got to the table, you would lead it. Now is not the time to shrink your vision to fit other people's comfort zones. Rulership will offend the small-minded. It will trigger the intimidated. It will frustrate the passive, and that's okay because rulership wasn't built for popularity. It was built for impact. That means you've got to decide. Will you lead or will you linger? Will you reign or will you retreat? Will you shape the environment or conform to it? Because rulership doesn't compromise. It sets the standard. It establishes the culture. It declares, as for me and my house, we will serve purpose. Rulership is responsibility, but it's also reward. It's the reward of walking in authority, the reward of legacy, the reward of influence that multiplies not just what you have, but who you are. So now the question is, will you answer the call? Will you walk like the king or queen you were refined to become? Will you speak like someone sent to shift atmospheres? Will you live like someone who understands this territory isn't just a blessing, it's a battlefield, and you weren't placed here to play defense? You were placed here to occupy until victory manifests. Stop waiting for comfort. Stop needing consensus. Rulership isn't waiting on the crowd to agree. It's waiting on you to accept it. So rise up. Take your seat. Put on your crown and rule with grace, power, and unshakable vision. This isn't your season to retreat. This is your moment to reign. What tried to break you before only built the blueprint for your breakthrough. You've been through storms that should have shattered you, but what you didn't realize in the middle of the chaos was that every hit, every heartbreak, every moment of uncertainty wasn't just happening to you. It was happening for you. What tried to break you wasn't your burial, it was your blueprint. It didn't come to destroy your destiny, it came to design it. The pain that pressed you, the trauma that tested you, the confusion that nearly crushed you, it all carried the raw material for your breakthrough. You thought you were losing. You thought you were under attack. But heaven was drafting architecture in secret. You were being built in the midst of the breaking. And now, the very things that looked like they were taking you out have been transformed into the exact instructions you need to take over. Because God doesn't waste pain, He repurposes it. And the blueprint for your breakthrough isn't written in ink, it's written in battle scars. You don't need a map from someone else. You are the map. Your walking revelation, your living evidence. You've become the strategy, the template, the testimony for what it looks like to turn trials into territory. You see, most people want breakthrough without blueprint. They want the promise without the process. But breakthrough isn't something you stumble into, it's something you're shaped for, and the shaping never happens in comfort. It happens when your back is against the wall, when the odds are stacked against you, when you're on your knees and there's nobody to call but heaven. That's where you get the download. That's where you get the strategy. That's where you get the mindset that says, even if it doesn't look like it now, I'm coming out of this stronger, wiser, and more dangerous to the enemy's camp than ever before. Because what broke others built you. What confused others clarified you. What distracted others developed you. Your wounds didn't just make you human. They made you holy. They made you humble. They made you aware of the mission. They made you walk differently, speak differently, love differently. That's why the enemy tried so hard to make you quit, because he knew if you ever realized that your breaking was actually your blueprint, you'd become unstoppable. So stop resenting what you went through. Start reading it, because your history holds the keys to your destiny. The rejection you faced gave you a revelation about who you are. The season of lack taught you how to multiply. The people who left showed you who you didn't need. Closed doors weren't curses, they were course corrections. And now, with everything you've seen, everything you've survived, you've been handed a divine design for breakthrough that isn't just for you, it's for others. You're not just called to walk through the fire, you're called to lead others out of it. You've got the blueprint now. You know the way out of depression. You know the way out of poverty. You know the way out of generational patterns. You know how to rise when everything around you is crumbling. That's not coincidence, that's commission. You've been entrusted with insight, and insight isn't given so you can sit on it. It's given so you can build. Build what? Build the vision, build the business, build the ministry, build the movement, build the thing that nobody else in your family thought was possible. Because now you've got the keys, and when you carry keys, you don't need permission to open doors. You command access. You don't beg, you don't shrink, you don't wait for someone else to go first. You show up like someone who knows the foundation was poured in pain, but the structure is going to be built in power. You're not building from fantasy, you're building from faith. And faith built in fire is unshakable. That's what separates you. Others read books about breakthrough, you lived it. Others studied leadership, you bled for it. Others watched from a distance. You went through the dark night of the soul, and now you walk with a weight that can't be mimicked or manufactured. That's authority, that's blueprint energy, that's the kind of authenticity that changes atmospheres. And hear me, what built you is now your toolbox. You don't need to hide your history. You don't need to cover up your journey. That pain was part of the plan. That failure was part of the formula. That breakdown was part of the building. Because breakthrough isn't just about arriving, it's about transforming, and you've been transformed through fire, through tears, through battles most people will never even hear about. But now you're on the other side of that mountain, and you've got something more valuable than applause. You've got insight, and insight is currency in the kingdom. You can't buy it. You can't fake it. You either paid for it or you didn't, and you did. You paid with obedience. You paid with perseverance. You paid with warfare and silence. And now you're standing with more than just a testimony. You're standing with strategy. You're not just here to inspire. You're here to instruct, because the next generation doesn't need hype. They need healing, and healing doesn't come from hype. It comes from hearing someone say, I know the way out because I've been through it. And if he brought me through, he can bring you too. So what does that mean? It means you can't keep minimizing your past just to make others comfortable. You can't keep dimming the light because others are intimidated by your survival. You can't keep acting like it wasn't that bad when it nearly killed you. No, this is the season where you own the whole journey. You don't glorify the pain, but you honor the process. You speak about the tears without shame. You testify about the trauma with authority, because that's how breakthrough becomes transferable. You stop being a victim of your story, and you become a voice of victory. That's where the enemy loses his grip. When you stop hiding what he used to hold over you and start using it as fuel, what tried to break you built you. And now you've got blueprints that others are desperate to find. You're not here by accident, you're here by assignment, and your breakthrough wasn't just for your freedom, it was for your function. So don't just celebrate that you made it, teach it. Build with it, lead with it, and watch how your story becomes the strategy that unlocks someone else's destiny. Your final challenge isn't about proving anything, it's about becoming everything. You're not here to impress, perform, or persuade anyone anymore. You're here to become. The final challenge isn't about proving you've got what it takes. It's about embodying what was always in you. You've already passed the tests. You've already survived the storms. You've already endured the pruning. Now, it's time to become the full version of who you were born to be. That's the real challenge, not the opposition, not the obstacles, not the noise from the outside. The real challenge is finally giving yourself permission to step into the magnitude of your calling without apology. To stop hiding behind humility and start operating in identity. This isn't the season to try to convince people you're worthy. This is the season to walk in your worth whether they see it or not, because your destiny doesn't require confirmation. It requires commitment. And until you commit to becoming everything you were designed to be, you will stay stuck in cycles of almost, someday, and not yet. But you weren't made to hover around potential. You were made to manifest purpose. Becoming is not about striving. It's about stripping away the doubt, stripping away the guilt, stripping away the fear that keeps telling you you're too much or not enough. It's about unlearning the language of limitation and unlocking the language of legacy. It's about silencing the voices that told you to tone it down, scale it back, or wait your turn. This is your turn. This is your time. This is your territory. But if you're waiting for someone to roll out the red carpet, you'll miss the final challenge. Because this challenge is internal, it's psychological, it's spiritual. It's about what happens in the quiet moments when no one's watching and you decide, I'm no longer waiting to feel ready. I'm moving like I already am. That's the shift. That's the becoming. It's when you stop acting like you're trying to arrive and start moving like someone who belongs. This final challenge is not for the faint of heart because becoming requires confrontation. You've got to confront every false identity you wore just to survive, the masks, the compromises, the watered-down version of your voice. You've got to confront the moments when you settled because you were scared. The times you knew you had a gift but didn't speak up. The seasons where you said yes when you should have said no. Because if you don't confront what's behind you, it will follow you into what's ahead of you. And the final challenge doesn't tolerate baggage. You can't run in royalty still carrying the chains of the past. You've got to decide once and for all that who you were is not who you're called to be. That the pain happened, but it didn't define you. That the betrayal broke your heart, but it didn't break your destiny. That the failure was real, but it was never final. The final challenge demands you see yourself clearly, not through the lens of your past, but through the lens of your promise. Because here's the truth, you don't become by accident, you become by agreement. You've got to agree with what heaven already declared over you. You've got to agree with the vision even when you don't see the provision. You've got to agree with the purpose even when you don't feel qualified. You've got to agree with the authority even when people still remember your history. Becoming doesn't mean the doubts disappear, it means the doubts don't decide. It means you feel the fear, but you move forward anyway. It means you stop asking if you're ready and start acting like someone who's already in position. You didn't pass those tests just to sit quietly on the sidelines of your calling. You passed them because you were being prepared for more responsibility, prepared for greater influence, prepared for a level of impact that will not be measured by applause, but by alignment. And becoming will cost you. It will cost your comfort. It will cost your old habits. It will cost your desire to please everybody. It will cost your need for external validation. But what you gain in return is irreplaceable. You gain confidence. You gain clarity. You gain the kind of conviction that cannot be shaken by temporary storms, because you've been tested by fire, and fire doesn't destroy gold, it reveals it. And what's being revealed in this final challenge is the version of you that's been hidden by fear, buried under pressure, and delayed by indecision. This version doesn't just show up, they take over. This version isn't waiting to be introduced. They're already walking in authority. You're not the same person who started the journey. You're wiser now, sharper, clearer, and the final challenge isn't to make you. It's to reveal you. So don't shrink, don't settle, don't second guess. Become the leader your bloodline has been waiting for. Become the voice your generation needs to hear. Become the answer to the prayers you used to whisper in the dark. Become the bold one, the brave one, the builder, the breaker of cycles, the speaker of truth, the keeper of vision, the one who didn't just dream it but delivered it. And no, it won't be easy. There will be days where doubt creeps in. There will be moments where you'll want to go back to what's safe, but becoming was never about what's easy. It's about what's eternal. It's about waking up every day and saying, I may not feel it yet, but I am it. I've been called, I've been chosen, I've been refined, and now I'm becoming. And as you become, doors will open, not because you knocked, but because you are the key. Rooms will shift, not because you performed, but because your presence carries weight. The challenge was never about proving your value. It was about realizing you already carry it. So what do you do now? You embrace the stretch. You accept the tension. You welcome the responsibility, because on the other side of this challenge is legacy, and legacy doesn't come from being remembered for what you started. It comes from being known for what you became. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to dim your light. This is the time to become the answer you were born to be, because your final challenge is not your enemy. It's your emergence, and the world is waiting not for your perfection, but for your becoming.